The title of this talk is Growing a Global Knowledge Network Among Geospatial Specialists. And I'm going to talk about some of our experiences in developing a virtual network in order to enhance learning among this community. Geospatial specialists have a problem. We can't find each other efficiently, and thus we can't learn from each other efficiently. Agencies don't know what other agencies across the globe are doing, and I think this is particularly true in terms of implementing geospatial technologies. We don't know the names or expertise of geospatial specialists among and across all of our communities. We don't know the details about spatial data infrastructure implementations across the globe. Further, many of the studies, reports, and lessons about implementations are very hard to find, and we're all talking across hundreds of specialty groups among many social networks. Now, as a result, the GSDI Association was tasked to build a knowledge network to allow us all to better learn from each other. Now, some of the questions which immediately arose were, well, what would it look like? Or perhaps better, what should it look like? And if we build it, will they come? And of course, we concluded that the only way to answer these questions was to indeed create such a system. Therefore, we built an online capability called the Geographic Information Knowledge Network. So right now, anyone interested from across the globe can join this moderated network. And in this network, you can now find the personal profiles of those who have declared themselves as geospatial specialists. You can now find out about and email geospatial specialists across the globe without the system exposing the email addresses of these various leaders. Geospatial leaders and others post and update their own profiles. Geospatial agencies, geospatial private companies, and geospatial nonprofit organizations can as well update their profiles in a centralized repository for all geospatial organization profiles. We can also allow several registrants from a single organization to revise their organization profile so that updating isn't restricted to a single person. Agencies can now report in detail on their SDI implementation experiences using a standard form in order to efficiently share their story with the rest of the world in an understandable fashion. We've tried very hard not to duplicate the services of other organizations. For instance, the Open Geospatial Consortium supports a registry for software developers for all new versions of their software and what standards that software meets. Similarly, GEOS supports an SDI components and services registry. Thus, this new facility automatically leads companies and agencies to those other registries when appropriate to report on that information, and then we automatically interface with and draw back from the OGC and GEOS databases to complete reports in the GIK network. Any registrant is also now able to upload any geospatial article, book, report, video, or educational resource into a global repository for long-term safekeeping with a flexible yet standard means for stating use rights in that resource. And if you can't acquire authority to upload the document, we allow you to provide a link to that resource instead. One thing the Geographic Information Knowledge Network is not providing is yet another social networking capability or discussion list. Rather, at the current time, the website simply leads you to many of the leading geospatial lists and social networking specialty groups that already exist. Well, now that it's built, will they come? Not without support from you. So here are some suggestions on how you can help. Number one, enter a profile for yourself and your organization. Either of these should take you only a few minutes to cut and paste the information from other sources. Number two, encourage all geospatial conferences across the globe to link bios from the GIK network. Instead of gathering bio information over and over again for each conference, We could have had, for instance, all 1,000 attendees at this particular conference simply provide their GIKNet link on their registration form, and thus you would have had their standard short systematic bio accessible prior to attendance at this conference. In fact, only a few bios were gathered because the organizers were overcommitted. Convince high-level global authorities to encourage geospatial agencies to report their SDI experiences. Peers respond to peers. They also respond to influential higher authorities. So if authorities such as the United Nations or World Bank were to ask government agencies to report their SDI experiences through this network, that would have far more influence than a professional organization doing so. The International Geospatial Society grants free membership to people from developing nations that provide a professional profile in the GIK network, and the GSDI Association grants free membership to agencies in developing nations that provide an agency profile and an SDI experience report. So other international geospatial organizations should be encouraged to do the same. Another thing you can do is start populating the global geospatial document repository. Many science domains have global repositories for the works arising from that field. The GI science domain does not. Perhaps we should make this the long-term open access repository for the full-text documents arising from all geospatial conferences held across the globe. And once a critical mass of a few thousand documents are contained in the repository, you can be assured that the use will take off. Another thing, encourage all geospatial organizations to list themselves as supporters of the GIKNet. We should have 50 influential supporting geospatial organizations listed in the left menu here instead of just 2 organizations. All right, in conclusion, technology is not the primary challenge in achieving effective knowledge networks, nor is technology the primary challenge in achieving greater effectiveness in the sharing of learning materials for capacity building. The primary challenge is a committed community. So here we've made a first step. The technology is not perfect, but indeed it works. So please contribute.